This is MRN Crew Call, brought to you by Hercules Tires.
I've mentioned this multiple times here on Crew Call that there are certain guys and gals in that garage area that are kind of the go-to people that all of us reporters use, whether it's Motor Racing Network or our brothers and sisters over on the TV network, or really even general reporters that cover the sport. There are always those go-to guys that we go to and get the insight on what's happening, whether it's insight on the strategy for that race, tires or fuel, or just big picture items where we need somebody to explain it to us that's a smart crew chief, but can explain it in English and a language that we understand. And that's who we're talking to today. I'm Steve Post, pit road reporter for Motor Racing Network, and this is Crew Call, presented by Hercules Tires, right on our strength. Jason Burdett is one of those guys. He is a 44-year-old guy from upstate New York, crew chief at Junior Motorsports for Justin Allgaier, has 15 career Xfinity Series wins, and on a regular basis, he locks his driver into the playoffs. One of the best in the garage and one of the nicest guys in the NASCAR Xfinity Series garage, and he joins us here on Crew Call.
For decades, Dryden Lubricants has been made in America and made to last, paving the way on our highways, in our fields, and on the production line. Today, Dryden offers a complete line of engine oils, greases, hydraulic and transmission fluids, and diesel exhaust fluid. If you want greater performance and protection for your critical engines and equipment, go to Dryden.com. Dryden, American-owned and operated, and a proud supporter of racing and race fans everywhere. Flow Racing is the home of grassroots racing, with over 1,300 races streaming live in 2021. Watch the Lucas Oil Chili Bowl, World 100, Dirt Late Model Dreams, Sweet 16, and much, much more. Subscribe today by going to flowracing.com/MRN. From sprint cars on dirt to SK Modifieds on pavement, arena cross, drag racing, and everything in between, it's here live and on demand. Subscribe today by going to flowracing.com/MRN. That's FLOracing.com/MRN.
Crew Call, presented by Hercules Tires, continues on, and joining me from up in Junior Motorsports is Jason Burdett. Hello, Jason. Welcome into Crew Call.
How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. I'm doing really, really well. 2021, you've got a couple of wins this year. You're locked into the playoffs. Where are you and Justin at with this thing? How are you doing this year?
I think we've had some ups and downs for sure. Throughout the year, like everybody has, I guess. You go through definitely some big waves as the season moves on. But here as of late, we've climbed our way back into the points a little bit. I think we're up to third now in the driver points. We strung together, 6 or 8 pretty good weeks. Last week we didn't finish as good as we had hoped to. We finished 6th, which still isn't bad, but we thought maybe we had a little better car than that. But really, we've through the summer months here, we've kind of put some good runs together, and we got some really good tracks coming up for us. Daytona will be kind of a bit of a crapshoot, as it always is, but then going into Darlington, Richmond, Bristol. We feel pretty good about those 3 places. So we're excited to get to those and, try to close out this regular season on as high a note as we can.
How important is it to carry some momentum, whether they're wins or at least good runs and good speed into the playoffs that start a few weeks down the road?
Obviously wins mean everything. And we would love nothing more than to win 3 of the next 4 or 4 of the next 4, right? And roll into the playoffs on top of the world. But the likelihood of that with the competition levels are slim, but if we can go into all those tracks and run as good as we have in the past. We won Darlington earlier this year, so obviously we're looking forward to going there and doing that. Richmond, the doubleheader last year, we won both of those, so we're looking forward to going back to Richmond. So all these places, and in Bristol, we've historically Justin's been really good there. We just haven't broke through it at Junior Motorsports with a win with Justin, but we've been really close several times. So, all these places are good momentum builders, and I think that first round of the playoffs is going to be tough any way you do it, with the Roval in there and stuff. So I think, if we can get some momentum going and some points, some bonus points on our side, all that can only help.
4 of the last 5 years, you've been able to go to the championship round, whether it was Homestead or whether it was Phoenix to get there. Jason, how do you navigate the playoffs? Because it is different than what we normally do. How do you navigate it? And I know it's situational. I know every year is different, but what's a general way that you've been able to get to the Final Four so many times?
I think, it's been different every year. Like you said, there's been years that we just kind of pointed our way through it. We had solid runs, and we took the stage points that when we could get them. We took the finishes at the end of the race that we could get. We maximized our points, and we made it through. A couple of years ago, we were basically kind of on the outside looking in. We went to Phoenix at that time and won Phoenix to get into Homestead. So we've kind of done it in a little bit different ways throughout the time. But, the easiest thing, obviously, is to just go and have a solid, 7 weeks, right? Like, if we can just put together 7 or 8 really solid weeks and put yourself in position to capitalize and get on to Phoenix now.
Jason, your career, you date back to the late 90s. You came down, I think I first met you at Robert Yates Racing years ago, and over to Hendrick Motorsports and to Michael Waltrip and back to Hendrick along the way. And I go through this. You've had a really, really good career, some championships as a team member with Dale Jarrett and with Jeff Gordon, but you find yourself here. I think this is the 6th year crew chief at Junior Motorsports. Why does this work so well for you?
I think, the biggest thing is, working for Dale and for Kelly, and LW. I mean, the Earnhardt family is a great family. Like, Dale and Kelly, for sure, they treat everybody here. It reminds me, working here reminds me a lot of when I worked at Robert Yates Racing. It was a family run business. Robert and Doug, and Carolyn, Robert's wife, Carolyn, they were there every day working. And then Robert's brother was there every day, right? So it was a family. And when I first started there in 97, I think is when I started at RYR, I was young, right? And I had moved from New York to here, kind of on my own. So to have a group of people that treated it like a family, and you always people looking out for you and helping you along the way. That was a great benefit for me moving forward throughout my career, to work with Doug and Robert. So I think here it feels like home, right? Like, it's a family run business. It's smaller. It hasn't, I spent, I don't know how many, 12 years or so at Hendrick, which was another phenomenal organization to work for, right? I worked with great drivers, Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon, Dale Jr. in the end, right? Like, you can't ask for anything more. But it was also huge, right? It was a big company. That's a company that's run like a business. So, for me, this place it feels like home. It fits like family, and we got a bunch of great people here, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, a lot of great racers there, that's for sure. When you were at Yates, was Richard still hand delivering the checks?
Yeah, he did for a long time.
Isn't that amazing?
Bonus checks and all that stuff. It was, I mean, like I said, it was a lot of fun to work there, and you can't ask for better people than the Yates family in general. So that taught me a lot about what this sport really was, or what it is, and what you're hoping to keep going, keep alive a little bit anyway.
Yeah, it was always amazing. Richard Yates, Robert's brother, would hand deliver bonus checks to every employee. He'd walk around and shake the hand. And man, I'll tell you, there was a lot of people there, and
Yeah.
that always just impressed me. I mean, I traveled a lot with Robert, traveled some with Doug, but just Richard with the check. You had a Yates family member that you talked to every time the paycheck came out. Boy, I'm telling you, there's a lot to be said for that little way in which they did business over there.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Like I said, I loved it there. And
Yeah.
actually Richard did at one point, I gotta remember what year was it that Dale and Ernie finished 1-2 at the Brickyard?
Oh yeah. That'd been
96. Yeah, I think it was
yeah.
96. Richard had made a bet with the guys on the plane flying up there, the pick crew guys, if we finish 1-2, we'll pay double win bonus, right? Because that way both cars get paid the same for the win, right? And sure enough, at the end of the day, uh, I think Dale may have passed Ernie right at the end of that race, for the win, and went on to finish 1-2. And sure enough, Monday morning or the following Monday, whenever it was, he come around and he was happy. Like that was the difference in them. They were happy to hand out. They wanted you to benefit from it, and have a little extra in your pocket. So
Yeah.
fun times for sure.
Yeah, I spent time. I was the PR guy for Ricky Rudd, Texaco Avalon, so I was never a Yates employee, but they brought me, other than handing the checks, they never handed me a check because I didn't work for them. Other than that, the Yates family just brought you in. And I hadn't thought about it until you mentioned it. And I go back a long way with LW. I go back to LW with his dad racing street stocks up at Dundee, which are tracks you're familiar with.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess to listen to you say that and knowing Kelly like I do and knowing Dale like I do and then knowing LW even more so, I don't think I'm really shocked that that's a real family run operation there as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's what I say, obviously the bigger teams have their advantages as well. But for a day-to-day company that you want to get up and come to work to, I mean, this place it's amazing. And maybe it's just me, maybe it fits me and the way I want to be, or the way I've kind of become. But it's a great place to be, great place to work, a lot of great people. And I mean, what other name other than the Earnhardt name do you want to be tied to, right? As you navigate through the NASCAR world, right? So that's a pretty good place to start.
Yeah, a good name and good people. That's a pretty good combination. That's for sure. You're from upstate New York. What were you doing up there before you moved south? What type of racing and what was life like? You were obviously young, so you made a young move. But what were you doing up there?
Well, so my family, or my mom and my dad, they raced for years at Dundee, at Woodhall, Canandaigua. And then when I was probably 10, 12 years old, it got to the point where he couldn't afford to go modified racing anymore. And they had moved through the street stocks, and they had done the late models, and then they had bought small block modifieds. They ran at Woodhall and Dundee weekly. And then I think they made 1 year running big blocks at Canandaigua, Weed Sport, and them places. And like at the end of that season, my dad was like, okay, that's all I got, right? Like I can't keep pouring money in. So they kind of got rid of all that stuff. But I had cousins and things that still raced. Kurt Van Pelt, Billy Van Pelt, they raced every week somewhere doing things. And we went with them every Friday night to Dundee, every Saturday to Woodhall, and it just got, you fall in love with the sport as the more time you spend around it. And that's what I spent my summers doing is working at Kurt's body shop during the day. And then we'd go work on the race cars at night and just travel around. And we had a good time. And eventually, actually, my mom and dad went to work for NASCAR they lived in New York. My mom had worked at Watkins Glen for a few years doing scoring stuff. So when NASCAR would come to town, she met, I want to say Morris Metcalf he was the head scorer for NASCAR at that point, right? So her and Morris got to be friends, and he invited her to come do some races other than the Glen to help with the scoring side. And then they both ended up doing like a part-time NASCAR schedule. And so it all kind of lined up for me. Sean Parker, if you remember him, Sean was a friend of ours that raced. He ran modifieds or was around that circle for a long time. He had moved down, went to work at Penske with Rusty Wallace and different things. So, it just, you started meeting people and knowing people, and it just kind of the opportunity became available,
I covered racing up there. I think it would have been 87 through I left, came down here in 95. I wrote for a racing paper called Gator Racing News out of Syracuse, New York. Yeah. And you mentioned the Van Pelts, Kurt and Billy. I would go to Woodhull or Dundee. I went to Woodhull probably more than Dundee just because it was Saturday night. I would go there and watch Kurt and Billy Van Pelt win races. And I just picked up an Area Auto Racing News this year, and I think Kurt is still, are they both still racing? Is Kurt still racing?
Kurt's kind of, he's pretty much retired. He may run once or twice a year, but Billy still runs every week. And I think he pretty much still wins every week, at Woodhull anyway, like pretty much wins them all in that area. But
yeah. They're an amazing racing family. They really are. That's what it was. I knew one of the boys was still winning on a regular basis as I read one of the local trade papers up there. Fun stuff, that's for sure. Now, one of the things, I get to talk to you some in the garage area on the NASCAR side, but I get to talk to you more on Wednesday nights out at Millbridge. Your son, Ethan, is racing a micro sprint out there, winged and non-winged. What is that like being a dad for a racer?
We've raced for, it's crazy. We've raced for a really long time, right? Yeah. So we started, I bought a little go-kart thing that we would go to Dale's. He was about 3.5, 4 years old. We'd go out to Dale's house, and he's got a couple little tracks at his house, that asphalt tracks. And we would just go out for fun, and he'd cruise around. Well, then that kind of turned into, somehow that made its way to a quarter midget. So we raced quarter midgets from when he was 5 till he was 9. So we did that. We won 2 USAC national championships with the quarter midget, and then a bunch of regional championships around here. And then we started racing, Millbridge on Wednesday night. Started gaining popularity, and obviously it fits our schedule about as good as you can. And so we started running the intermediate carts and, box stock, and then intermediate. And then when they started this micro thing up, we decided, oh, that'll be fun, right? Let's try that. So here we are. But yeah, I'm way more nervous at a 30 lap feature at Millbridge than I will be in Daytona this week. I can promise you that.
I can imagine that. I've been out there and watched you, of course. And what I always find fascinating is it's like you're on one car. Jeff Mendering, his son, of course, he's over at Joe Gibbs Racing. He's in a different division than you are. Kenny Francis from over at Hendrick. His son actually races against you. That is an amazing community. There's a lot of NASCAR garage people tied up on a Wednesday night at Millbridge, isn't there?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, it's between Kenny and the Kleins, they're tied in with Stuart Haas. Kenny's at Hendrick, Jeff Mendering from Gibbs. There's, I think, Lance Furno, his daughter, Lacey. Lance is a fabricator at Ganassi, I believe, and the little Price, Aiden Price, his dad works at Ganassi. It's a NASCAR thing for sure. At least the dads are, but we have a good time. We've all of our kids are pretty little, really, in the end. They're young, and the micro thing is an adult sport. It's not necessarily the division we're running at Millbridge isn't a kid division, right? So the kids are doing good. They're learning a lot. They get to race with, Christopher Bell. They get to race with Chase Briscoe from time to time, Dylan Welch. And there's a lot of good obviously there's a lot of good talent around here that are race car drivers, and a lot of people that love dirt racing. So it's a lot of fun to be a part of and to learn more about open wheel dirt cars, you know.
I've been impressed with him, and we've talked about it out there. Some of the skill sets that he has, he seems to do a really good job. He seems to have a pretty good balance of aggressive and trying things or staying in line when he needs to stay in line. Do you foresee? I mean, would you like to see him pursue this further, or is it right now just what you guys do at this point in life?
You know, I mean, he loves it. I mean, he loves racing. You know, we've talked about it a lot, right? Like, you know, the engineering side of racing is growing tremendously. Every year it becomes more and more important and more involved in what we do, not just on the NASCAR level, but all the way through, you know? So, I mean, really, I kind of hope that he loves it and he continues and he wants to do it for a long time, whether that's sprint cars or something else. But if it gives him a vision of maybe of a different, you know, when he was ready to go to college, if he says, hey, you know, I want to be an engineer so that I can learn more about building my own race cars, or heck, if it's just being a welder, whatever that is that he decides he wants to do, you know, I hope racing can show him a path and then show him a way to do it and be a better person for it, you know.
Yeah, it's been good to you. It's been good to me. I know that. Boy, the sport is just, I mean, man, I can't imagine a different life. That's for sure. It's been absolutely amazing.
Yeah, no, you definitely cannot complain. You know, we try not to complain. We do from time to time, but it's hard to complain about the lives that we've created and had throughout the last 7 years, you know.
Amazing stuff. It really is. Well, Jason, I appreciate the time joining us on Crew Call. I appreciate, and I started our show off by saying there's my go-to guys in the pit area. I appreciate when I walk up to you, you're trying to get the car buttoned up, you're trying to get Justin in the car, and the MRN guy comes up and says, hey, what's your fuel window? What's your tire strategy? I always appreciate the insight you give me. That certainly helps us tell the story. So I appreciate that as well, and joining us here on Crew Call.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime. It's been great.
There we go. Jason Burdett, crew chief up at Junior Motorsports for Justin Allgaier, the Branch Chevrolet.
Citywide to countryside, whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules has the value, selection, and industry-leading warranty to get you there no matter where the road takes you. Go to HerculesTires.com. There you can find the nearest authorized Hercules retail location to you. Plus, you can use the tire tracker to find out which Hercules tire fits your vehicle the best. That's HerculesTires.com. Hercules Tires, ride on our strength.
Sir, are you aware you were going 40 miles an hour? This is a residential area.
Sure, but I'm on my lawnmower? Wait, am I getting a ticket?
No, I've just never seen anyone top 9 miles an hour on one of those bad boys. And mow their entire lawn in 30 seconds? What got into you?
Well, it did fuel up at Sunoco this morning.
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. We've been doing it for American racing for over 50 years. Fuel your best.
Ford has put the stock back in stock car, and now you can register for your chance to be Ford Performance's VIP guest and watch the NASCAR Next Gen Mustang hit the track for the first time in 2022. One grand prize winner and their guest will receive a trip for 2 to Daytona Beach with VIP access, Ford Performance driver meet and greets, round-trip airfare, and more. Register now through November 7th at FordNextGen.com. That's FordNextGen.com.
On Sunday afternoon, it was so much fun being up at Michigan, and Ryan Blaney with that win for Team Penske by putting his Mustang in victory lane. He scored the Heritage Cup for Ford Motor Company, Ford Performance, bragging rights, if you will, among the manufacturers, being down there in victory lane with Ryan. And well, it wasn't long. All of the Ford people were there, so they were celebrating that Heritage Cup victory. So a big, big moment for Team Penske and for Ryan Blaney and for the Ford Motor Company. And there's so much excitement going on with the Ford Motor Company. Between now and 2025, they're investing $22 million on electrification of vehicles. And that includes the Mustang. The all-electric Mustang Mach-E is being delivered to customers right now. And if you want to take a look at it, you can go to www.ford Ford.com and click on the tab Electrify. That's right, it's Ford.com, the Electrified tab. I was looking at it. You know, there's a new breed of pony coming along from Ford, the all-electric Mustang Mach-E GT Performance Edition. I was looking at this, I wrote this down, the torque-drenched driving experience. It has 634 foot-pounds of torque. And check this out, 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds. Wow, that's impressive. Again, 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds. This pony earns every inch of its GT badge. And again, congratulations to our friends at Ford Motor Company for the win of the Heritage Cup up at Michigan International Speedway. Playoff update, the Camping World Truck Series, one race in. They kicked off their playoffs on Friday night at Gateway, and it was Sheldon Creed on to the next round. Crew Chief Jeff Stankiewicz, he joined us a few weeks ago here on Crew Call, and boy, they seem to know how to hit the stride when we get to playoff time. They're the reigning champs, and they're already on to and locked into the next round. On the outside looking in at this point, Chandler Smith and Zane Smith. The good news for those guys, Danny Stockman and Kevin Bono Mannion are crew chiefs. So those two young racers are in good hands as they and their crew chiefs and their teams try to dig themselves out of a hole when the trucks go back playoff racing next weekend at Darlington. That's coming up on Sunday, the 5th of September. Before that, the Cup Series, we will round out the playoff field this weekend at Daytona International Speedway. Xfinity Series with a Friday night under the lights race. So Motor Racing Network going to be there the whole time. Friday night, 7 o'clock Eastern time, the Wawa 250. Presented or powered by Coca-Cola. That's for the Xfinity Series. And on Sunday, it's the Coke Zero Sugar 400 for the Cup Series, setting the final count, the final edition, the final field, the final playoff field for the playoffs that begin next week with the Southern 500 at Darlington. It is going to be great. You can find out all of those air times again at MRN.com. You can look at our schedule, and you can even set reminders for yourself for those or other programs here on the Motor Racing Network. We appreciate Jason Burdett joining us here from up at Junior Motorsports. But as I say each and every time, more important than all of that, thank you for joining us here on Crew Call, presented by Hercules Tires, right on our strength.